for the chamber, resign from the committee, and another business that offers diversification to the committee that is not related to a council member be appointed to the tourist committee immediately. I place my concerns before the citizens of the businesses of Solvang, and I withdraw my name from further consideration. Respectfully, Jennifer Sonny. Thank you.
Thank you. This is the end of the public comment. We have no other slips and requests to speak on items not on the agenda. We'll go to our business item on the agenda today, which is the Yule Fest event schedule and program review. Just to let you all know, because we didn't have one of the members here present today, we'll deal with some of the more administrative matters at your next meeting, such as scheduling a set schedule of meetings going forward and discussing the organization of this committee. But today, Yule Fest is the celebration during December that we need to start pushing out as a marketing, and we want to make sure that we have the input from your committee before we go to City Council on Monday with your input and recommendations. We are not going to be asking you for a vote today, rather we are looking for just your general direction and input on what's been prepared by the marketing consultant IDK. And IDK and the team are here today to make a presentation to you and to introduce the entire team. Scott, take it over.
Thank you, City Manager. And as this is our first time, can you hear us okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Since it's our first time coming together, and I wanted to take a few minutes to just introduce a big portion of the team, certainly not everybody that's working on Solvang, but I wanted to make sure that I made a point of introducing all of you to members of my team and my staff that are working day and night on the Solvang project. And also I wanted to express my gratitude and my thanks and my excitement to work with each and every one of you. Obviously, I wasn't able to provide any comment during the development of this Tourism Advisory Committee, but I agree with its purpose and its formation. And as some of you on the committee know, this is something I've long advocated for. So I'm excited and honored to be reporting into this group and sharing information. So first, by way of introductions, here on Zoom. Many of you know me, obviously, but for those who don't, Scott Shoemake, I'm the managing member, CEO of IDK Events, the production and experiential marketing agency assigned to work on Solvang. With me is Anna Sparks, who is with Stiletto PR, who is our PR subcontractor, who works on all of the PR elements for everything we're working on. I have Jamie here, who heads up our social media team, along with her colleague Leanna, who's not here at the moment. Karen Conway is our digital solutions manager. She's responsible for updates to the website and implementing all of the creative strategy that the creative team, who are not on the call today, put together. Many of you know Jacob. Jacob is the Vice President of Production and producer on the Solvang project. And then a couple of months ago, we were very honored to invite Sue Lee Clipgard, who I believe is there in the room, as an account coordinator. So Sue is responsible for all of the on-the-ground data collection for us and customer service. So Sue is also part of the team. So Jacob will take us through sort of our draft presentation for our Yule Fest plan. Since this is the first time that we've come together as a committee and as a key contractor, I wanted to make sure that we provided a very high level and very quick overview of what we're currently providing to the city of Solvang. So to that end, I will share my screen. And again, I will go through this incredibly quickly. This information has been shared with the city manager and the council as needed, but just for the purposes of this committee and to help answer any questions, just sort of a really high-level overview of what we're providing. So our focus areas, obviously, for Solvang are Brown foundations, so reestablishing and continuing to fine-tune the Brown foundation for Solvang, our audience storytelling, and then the harmonizing of efforts between PR marketing and tracking efforts across multiple teams and multiple agencies within Solvang. So you saw that obviously in Christmas time in 2020 when we came together with the Chamber to support all of the efforts around the Christmas tree distribution. You see it in our efforts to promote the greater San Ynez Valley where we can. And so really, you know, I've said multiple times there are 4 pillars to market. I believe there are 4 pillars to marketing Solvang. You know, a strong regional DMO, a strong chamber representing all of the businesses, really strong recreation department representing all of the locals, and then of course a strong experiential marketing arm to give those folks that come something to do and the reason to come back. So I won't go too far into the Brown foundations other than to highlight, just because you'll start to see it repeatedly. We've identified these, you know, 7 kind of target key audiences. These are folks based on all the research that we've done that are coming, you know, for one of 3 reasons, either seasonally, with specific tastes, or with unique needs. So on the unique needs funnel, we have families, we have pet lovers, which is a huge demographic that's exploded as a result of COVID. Everybody and their uncle has gone out and found an animal. And then of course, budget travelers for the same reason, they're traveling on a budget. And then we have travelers with specific tastes. So those are that maybe have a little bit extra disposable income that are coming on bougie explorers, art and architecture, Epicurean explorers coming to taste different things. And then obviously our seasonal travelers with Christmas. So these 7 audiences have been identified, and you'll see in the coming months as we work together, everything that we're doing is talking to one of or all of these 7 demographics. I'll skip through a lot of this just because, you know, this is detailed information for certainly another meeting, and in chatting with the city manager, I think that we'll have an opportunity to go through this at a more detailed level with everybody, you know, as folks get their sea legs. So obviously we have 3 tactics: brand exploration, content, and guiding the brand. So within the audience storytelling, I mean, you've heard me probably say this a lot publicly, you know, we're really focused on honoring the architecture, culture, the sites, location. We want to honor what's already there, but then modernize it by the way we're showing it, the look, the styling, the stories, and the settings, so that we're not alienating the demographic that knows Solvang and is continually coming to Solvang, but we're highlighting that demographic, you know, this new demographic that maybe thought they knew Solvang and thought that they grew away from what it could deliver, but we can reposition it to attract that second audience. So I think anecdotally you're seeing a lot of that success in the folks that are in town. You know, you're seeing that across a spectrum of people that are coming. This is an example on the storytelling side that, you know, we're taking something that exists and just changing the way that we show it a little bit to make it more visually appealing and cut through the noise of every other tourism marketing destination on the planet that is screaming for visitors right now. So obviously around audience storytelling, we're really focusing on these shorts and these videos, which you'll start to see. You guys will be the first to see them as they come out. You know, again, a way that we're, you know, that you'll hear us talk is this funnel. So, you know, these videos that we're working on are really focused on the awareness and consideration funnel. So we're trying to make sure that folks are aware of Solvang and are considering Solvang for a trip. But some of the other activities that we're working on are focused more on the conversion advocacy funnel. So what are the funnel that's making somebody make a decision to come to Solvang, and then once they've come, say, you know, hey, I definitely want to come back, and I highly recommend Solvang. So you know, these 4 funnels are another thing that you'll hear us talk an awful lot about. Yeah, so the current program, obviously, as I mentioned, is really focused on awareness and consideration. We have some conversion and advocacy things happening in the background that we'll go in later detail, or we'll go into more detail at a later date. that's pretty much all I wanted to show you on that. I want to take you through some really high-level stats just in the last year on social, and I know that it sounds like we focus a lot on social, but really that is the number one driver of in-person growth right now. This is where people are making decisions. Like in my generation, I would go to the Yellow Pages, or I would pick up a phone and call a friend. You know, in this new generation, and even some of the older folks are starting to get their information digitally. So we've had over 3.5 million impressions, which is just people seeing this content, which feeds into those awareness and consideration funnels. We see 114% annualized growth rate, which is outperforming the travel industry by over 400%, which is great. About 10,000 new followers, which is, Jamie can pat herself on the back for. That's hours of chatting with people online and making sure that they're excited about us. Growth on Facebook is not as strong, about 6.5%, but still, you know, it's not a channel that we focus heavily on because we're seeing more growth through Instagram, TikTok, and Snapchat. Obviously, the content that performs really well, which, you know, I mentioned that we're seeing these 7 key demographics. The content that people like, they're voting with their clicks, they're voting with their eyeballs and telling us who they are and what they like. And so those seven groups that we identified are really coming through what type of content people are responding to. And so it's architecture, it's food, it's family, it's bougie, it's experience, and you see that across our top performing content. On the PR side, Anna is absolutely killing it. In the last year, we've got key pieces in obviously the LA Times, Forbes talking about Rembrandt, which was huge. That's obviously left as of I think last Sunday. But there's a new exhibit coming in for the Alberboy, which we're really excited about. Eater has obviously ignored Solvang off and on over the years, but has come back with a vengeance, really focused on some of the new restaurants that are opening and some of the new opportunities to come and taste the things that you're used to tasting at Solvang, but try something new and different. So that's really exciting. Obviously, the closure of Copenhagen, when that happened, generated a lot of publicity because we did that before even Santa Barbara and some of the other major metropolitan areas that started closing their streets down. So it generated a lot of conversation and consequently eyeballs. Obviously, there were some milestones this year with birthday celebrations and things we were able to get press on. There's been a couple of new hotels that have opened, and we've been able to highlight, again, not alienating the folks that want to come, but highlight, you know, new and alternate experiences, which has been great. Sorry, my dog just went nuts. And you know, again, here this speaks back to those 4 pillars that I talked about. You know, we can take things that are happening, you know, with recreation doing the haunted house, with the chamber doing the Scarecrow Fest, and we can take and elevate those and make sure that we're talking to those 7 people and filling that awareness and consideration funnel with things that are happening outside of our direct efforts. Red Try has been great for us. Westways has been phenomenal. We, you know, Solvang has historically paid about $7,000 as part of a 3-way split with Visit SYB to get a very little chunk of a shared article between San Ynez, Sultan, and Solvang. They've been doing that for a long time. We did do that again in December of last year, but later in the spring, you know, they picked up the editorial content. So what Solvang historically had to pay $6,000 for, we got for free because they were interested in the editorial content. So you can't always guarantee that, but it's an indication that the efforts that we're putting out to put new information and new and exciting content is being picked up on the editorial side, which then saves money for Solvang on the marketing side long term. These are some great pieces. You know, again, full page ad would cost 20 grand, but because they were interested in the editorial content, we were able to get this in Locale magazine. You know, we've updated Palm Springs Live for some of the vaccination requirements. I mean, obviously, the world has changed 100 times over the last year, so a lot of this has changed. But we're constantly telling the story of Solvang in as many different places as we can. 805 Living was another one that got us a lot of, and we can measure where these people are coming from because there's a lot of click-throughs. So we're seeing a lot of traffic from 805 Living and some of these others. The new restaurants obviously have been good for town. The concept of staycations, staying in Europe without leaving the United States, has been great. And then of course, Renee with the soccer got picked up in Denmark. And the Cake Man, which was very interesting to the gentleman from Jurassic Park. I can't remember his name. Jeff Goldblum. There you go. So there's lots of things still in the work, but I wanted to show some of those highlights from the last year. So again, not by any means in depth and certainly very high level, but I wanted to sort of share these key things just so that as we continue to meet over the coming months, you'll start to kind of see like how everything that we're presenting to you ties back in. So with that, I'll have Jacob take us through the current plan for YuleFest, and then we can have an open discussion about pros and cons of YuleFest. And before he does that, I will say that we've taken tons of feedback. We have plenty of data from previous years, so we've learned what works really well and what doesn't so much. So you'll see a lot of tradition in this presentation. That's a big focus for us this year is elevated tradition. So Jacob, take it away.
Hi there. I hope everyone is having a wonderful Thursday evening. Before we get started, I just wanted to let everyone know that there is a lot of imagery in this deck, and I want you to know that it's not meant to be used literally. We create what are called mood boards that kind of just set the tone and the vibe of what we are trying to accomplish. But by no means are any of these literal. It's just what we're pulling inspiration from for our different activations for YuleFest. So for 2021, YuleFest runs from November 27th to January 1st, so a little bit over a month. And then let me run through these. Our 2021 YuleFest concepts. So our first concept that we're going to go over is the Solvang Christmas Light Show. This concept is one that we did not push forward for approval by the City Council. We wanted to get a little bit more feedback on it before we move forward and presented it as an idea. This is based off of what we did in 2019, but scaling it back, we heard a lot of feedback that it was a little too flashy for Solvang. It didn't really, it didn't support the small town feel good that we're trying to promote during the holiday season during YuleFest. And so we took that idea because it's really unique and interesting, and we did see a lot of people come and enjoy it, and kind of toned it down and wanted to give it a more small town feel. So the Solvang Christmas Light Show will be a free-to-enjoy attraction for tourists and locals alike. To bring the holiday season to life, we will apply light projection onto an existing storefront. This projection can incorporate seasonal Danish holiday flavor, Aurora Borealis-inspired designs, and unique Solvang-specific holiday offerings. The light show will use a combination of animated and illustrated aspects. Some suggested visuals to use for the light show: a dance of the Nisa, a windmill strewn with lights, traditional Jameson motifs, Christmas tree decoration, and then wrapping and unwrapping presents. So before, where we have the giant spotlights that were shooting up into the air that you can see all throughout the valley, we've taken that away. We've taken out the over-the-top loud musical elements, and so we're just going to project it onto hopefully a storefront. There will be some music to accompany that, but it will only be in a small section of town. One building that we've been looking into projecting onto is the Winston, so that people can enjoy it while watching from across the street in Solvang Park. And then here is a little bit of a mood board of what we were thinking of incorporating into the light show and kind of making it feel very Danish, very Solvang, and also Christmassy at the same time. Our next idea is Solvang Park Nordenpolen. Nordenpolen, for those of you who don't know, is North Pole in Danish. So the annual Santa meet and greet will be wrapped up in this idea. So that will be available at Solvang Park again this year. This year's theme will be Nordenpolen, transforming Solvang Park into Santa's homeland. Every Saturday of Yule Fest from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m., Santa will be available for pictures. The Santa meet and greet will transform Solvang Park's gazebo into Santa's workshop, which is where the photos will be taken. And then we will also have free gift wrapping available in the park with proof of purchase from a local Solvang small business. So people will just need to walk up to the table with a receipt, and they'll be able to receive free gift wrapping. Donations will be available and are strongly suggested and will be donated to a local nonprofit. That nonprofit, representatives from that nonprofit will be the ones that will be wrapping the gifts, so the donations will go directly to them. There's no middleman between there. And so next is just kind of a mood board of what we were feeling. This is really what we think, this middle picture specifically, I can zoom in a little bit more. This middle picture specifically is what we think that we can transform the gazebo in Solvang Park into. And so obviously this will be available to take pictures with Santa. We also want to make it an activation that people can enjoy during the week and on Sundays when Santa is not available. So this is what we really believe is possible, and then we will also have some lighting installations and some other extra goodies available in the park on Saturdays to really bring in that North Pole feel. Next, we have, let me go back out. Hold on. Okay. Next, we have the Candlelight Tours. The annual Candlelight Tours will be offered again this Yule Fest. The Candlelight Tour will be held every Saturday of Yule Fest from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Each tour will be held by a costumed local guide and will invite guests to enjoy an intimate tour of the city of Solvang. Ticket holders will be treated to locally sourced treats, as well as a one-on-one meet and greet with Santa. Tickets will have limited availability and will be first come, first serve. In previous years, in 2019, the Candlelight Tours were limited to 25 people. Once we have a better idea of the holiday, and once we put tickets on sales, we can kind of determine how many people will be available to walk through with each tour. Here's just a mood board of what people will be experiencing during the Candlelight Tours. Next is the Solvang Christmas Market. The Christmas Market will bring the joys of an old world Christmas market to downtown Solvang. The Christmas Market will be held during the peak of the week, which is Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And businesses will be invited to extend their hours into the evening. Each business will be included on a map that we produce, also available online and for pickup at the visitor center. We will also be styling a hugahus that will offer cozy Christmas goodies such as hot chocolate and roasted chestnuts. And carolers will sing through the streets, bringing Christmas cheer to everyone near. Our map will highlight businesses to visit for different kinds of gifts for mom, gifts for dad, gifts for kids, etc. We will also be featuring holiday specials that businesses will be offering during Yule Fest in our digital version of the map. So just to be clear, we will not be inviting outside vendors to vend. This is really just highlighting the businesses that are located on Copenhagen. So the Christmas market will be already the existing storefronts. And obviously, stores will be able to come outside of their store if they would like to. It's not necessary to. And then we will be kind of bringing decor to the outside structures that are already out there to give it that old world European Christmas market feel. And here's a little more of a mood board. So we really wanted to highlight, because a lot of our marketing is towards those 7 groups that Scott had mentioned before, and that has been working really well for us. We kind of wanted to tackle Solvang in a similar way with gift shopping and supporting our local businesses. So that's where we got the idea to make the lists of like, visit these stores for gifts for mom, visit these stores for gifts for dad, all of that information. And so we'll be working closely with the chamber and the visitor center to kind of collect all of that information and to have it readily available for locals and tourists alike. Next, we have our annual tree lighting ceremony. The annual tree lighting ceremony will be held on December 3rd, 2021 from 5 to 6:30 p.m. The tree lighting ceremony will feature our hugahus, which will move into the park during that time to offer the same offerings of hot chocolate, roasted chestnuts, any other Christmas Danish goodies that we wanna hand out. Ballerinas dancing around the Christmas tree, live entertainment, caroling, and of course the magical lighting of the tree in Solvang. There's a little bit more of a mood board for that. And then one other thing that we want to bring back this year is the Nissan Adventure. So for those of you who are not familiar with the Nissan Adventure is a scavenger hunt that we have throughout downtown Solvang. We have participants scan a QR code. They give us their names and their emails so that we can use them for distribution lists later on in the year, so we can target them for Yule Fest the following year. So that is all necessary to sign up, and then after they sign up, they're given the first clue, and then that clue leads them to a location in downtown Solvang. They find the QR code in Nisa, and then they scan it for the next clue, so on and so forth. And at the end, we offer them a prize. So in 2019, it was a ticket to the drone show. In 2020, it was a Yule Fest branded Stein wine glass or ornament. So we want to bring that general concept back for this year, but we want to elevate it to be a little bit more. So this year we'll be utilizing digital more than ever. The Nissan Adventure, as I just explained, is a scavenger hunt throughout Solvang that encourages participants to visit landmarks and local businesses in search of the Solvang Nissan. When users scan a QR code, it will open a web page with an animated video detailing the story of the Nissan and its trip to Solvang. There will be a clue in the animation that will lead people to the next QR code location. The Nissan Adventure will have a storybook look and feel, bringing joy to the whole family. So we really wanted to really capitalize on the talent that we've acquired over the past year since last Yule Fest, and really dive into their skill sets and bring Solvang something that it normally wouldn't have with the animation and the illustration. We really wanted to dive into that and put Solvang on the map for something that's really unique, really polished, and something that's beautiful for people to enjoy. So here's just a little bit of a mood board for that. And then the last concept that we have is our Skull Wine and Stein Stroll. We did this in 2019, and it's been done years before. Obviously, we're a little hesitant to start selling tickets to this just because we don't know what the COVID situation will be in December. So we're gonna kind of hold this one back and see where we're gonna be before we start marketing it. Just because we know that indoor capacities are limited. We don't know if vaccinations will be required to be eating and drinking indoors still. So like it's just, there's some things that we have to figure out before we can. But the Skull Wine and Stein Stroll is a 2-day wine and beer tasting throughout downtown Solvang. We'll be featuring wines from over 10 plus wineries and breweries while also judging the annual Glow competition. All tickets come with a complimentary wine glass and stein. A ticket to the Skull Wine and Stein Stroll is $45. Participants will be limited to 6 tastings a day, which is a total of 12 tastings over the 2 days. And then here is a little bit of a mood board with some suggestions for branding for the wine glass and for the stein. And then just because not everyone on this committee has met our entire team, here's just our creative and production team that will be specifically working on these Solvang activations. Obviously, we'll be working in conjunction with Anna and from Stiletto Marketing, and then Jamie and Liana on social media. All right, so that is what we're proposing for Yule Fest this year. Obviously, other community events that will be happening, such as the Nativity Pageant, we'll also help promote and we'll put on our calendar of events. But this is just specifically everything that we are producing ourselves.
Thank you, Jacob. So obviously that was a boatload of information. I think the key takeaways are there's no red barn this year, so no more trees getting chopped down. There is the Hugo. I think the three things that will likely generate the most discussion, and I'm happy to take any questions, but I think the three pieces that will generate the most discussion are likely the lighting activation. And Jacob, if you could take us back to slide 4 real quick. The one piece that we didn't mention, or that Jacob didn't mention, is that our in-house motion graphics designer has proposed this sort of magic experience that you're seeing on the picture on the left there. And what we can do is using, a little too far. Yeah. What we can do with using this stretched mesh material behind Commissioner Hamburg's building, we can stretch this mesh fabric and use a series of projectors to actually recreate the Aurora Borealis effect in a less over-the-top way than we did with the light show, but would certainly be something that folks who have come for the light activation in Paso Robles, or who have come for the traditional Christmas display in Cambria, we can pull those folks down into Solvang and extend their trip a little bit longer by offering this kind of wow moment that you wouldn't otherwise expect. So it's a bit of production magic to do this, but it's invisible during the day. This mesh, it's very fine mesh, and it's really, if you've watched any of like when they reanimate Michael Jackson from the dead for a concert, that's what they're using, this hologram material, which is what this mesh is, and it's what Disney uses for some of their activations in the park as well. But this is another concept that we considered, and it may be too over the top for Solvang, but we think that it can be that signature piece that runs every day of the week for a few hours, that really highlights and encourages folks to come and fills that very last funnel, which is that piece where people are talking about Solvang. So they're encouraging future trips by coming back and being like, oh my gosh, I saw this over the top amazing thing. So with Yule Fest, we can really fill each of those 5 funnels, and we think that this is the one that's going to fill that last funnel in the best way and give us a lot of organic earned media and viral marketing dollars that we otherwise wouldn't get. So this is another piece that we didn't talk much about. And then the Hygehus in on Copenhagen Street. Obviously we don't want to alienate any of the other businesses, but we also want to respect, and feedback we got through multiple surveys in the past is that folks on Copenhagen Street are paying higher rent than they would pay elsewhere in Solvang, and so they would be less willing to allow us to bring folks from other parts of Solvang in, for that Christmas market. So instead, we want to highlight, the things when you close your eyes and you think of a European Christmas market, you can smell the chestnuts roasting, and you can smell the mulled wine, and you can, hear the music and feel that crispness in the air. And while we can't control the weather, we can control those other senses, and that's our goal with the Hygehus. So I will happily answer any questions. Jacob, you can stop sharing so I can see everybody.
Thank you, IDK and the team, and I would like to just remind all the committee members that to speak clearly, you're basically speaking to that mic right there on the top. If you can take one person at a time as we go with your comments or your questions, and we'll open it up for any questions you have for the consultant, then take any public comment, although I don't have any public comment slips, and then just continue with your comments. So if you have any questions.
Yeah, what happened to the drug show? You can't pull that off?
We can. It's something that I thought the feedback that we got after Yule Fest in 2019 was that the locals didn't love the concept. It's certainly something we'd be willing to do. I personally loved it. I think that it was relatively, it essentially paid for itself. So it's certainly something that can be done, but when we sort of started from the beginning this year, we left that out intentionally because we thought that the feedback we'd gotten before was that the public wasn't interested in that. But I would personally be quite happy to see the drone show come back, and we do have a multi-year exclusivity on Christmas drone shows south of Bakersfield in California.
Then too, did we miss a page on this? Jacob had a page in the beginning that I didn't see on this.
Yeah. We didn't include that in the presentation that we shared, outside of this meeting. Not that we're trying to hide anything, we just didn't want to spur unnecessary confusion around some of those concepts without having an opportunity to explain them.
And then I think you spoke of bringing other vendors in from outside, from other parts of Solvang. I think you absolutely need to do that. You mentioned the rent deal, but I think it's only fair that we offer people from the other end of town and other shops that are not on Copenhagen the ability to set up. That's my opinion on that.
Great, thank you.
I hear your the rent deal, but I think, in all fairness, it would be fair for everybody if we let anybody in Solvang set up on that market. My thoughts.
Thank you for that feedback.
Some general feedback we got in 2019 when we were also exploring Christmas market idea is that a lot of stores, it was prohibitively expensive to set up another location, and it was expensive staffing wise. So I would definitely, we are definitely willing to explore that idea. That's just the feedback we got last time we suggested something similar. But we'll definitely reach back out and see if things have changed for 2021.
I'm sure that it is prohibitively expensive, but I still think it needs to be offered to them myself.
Yeah, I just want to ask you a question regarding that same issue with the vendors. So this will be exclusively only for the city of Solvang, correct?
What are you referring to? I'm sorry.
As far as other businesses within the city limits would be the only ones to be able to have vendors beyond Copenhagen, if we were to do that, right? There would be no one outside.
Yeah, so we're clear. As of the moment, there is no plan to invite businesses from anywhere, even in Solvang, to come to Copenhagen Street. What we would ask is that we would create these hygge-hus and either staff them with local chocolate shops or local coffee shops to create those smells and those tastes and things that you can't find in Europe, but we would not necessarily create a retail environment. We would create the traditional market by creating wrapping a brand around the existing infrastructure that's in Solvang and working with the chamber, as I know the chamber tried to do in 2020, and we certainly tried to do in 2019 with them, trying to encourage all of those businesses to stay open a little bit later, specifically Thursday through Saturday, because there's an awful lot of folks that are staying overnight, especially on Friday. They're driving up after work, and or after dinner when they're a little liquored up and want to go shopping, and there's no place for them to go. So as of this moment, we hadn't considered opening it up to any vendors of any kind. Max's suggestion, it sounds like, is that we should offer it, and in no case would we propose offering it anything outside of the city of Solvang. Specifically, that's outside of our remit as marketing for the city itself, to try and encourage folks from outside of the city of Solvang to come in and sell. So as of the moment, there's no plan. We've taken the feedback from Commissioner Hamburg that that's something that there may be some interest in, and we can explore that with the chamber and with merchants. I'm sure Sue would happily chat and get some feedback on that, from the merchants on Copenhagen. But as of the presentation as presented is not including bringing any businesses from outside of anywhere in Solvang to Copenhagen Street temporarily.
Thank you.
Have you thought about how you would determine where they would be placed then? So, since we have almost full businesses there, have you determined how they would be placed on the street?
Again, we've not proposed or planned for any outside businesses to come outside of their storefront. So no, we've not made any consideration for placement because we have no consideration to invite any businesses other than those that already exist to come. In terms of the Hygge Hus, the smell touch element, we had talked with the city manager about potentially using space in front of the visitor center, but we would not use any of the existing structures that exist currently because we wouldn't want to interfere with any existing business. So if we were to bring in the Hygge Hus, which Jacob I think drew, or there's a render of for that, like that smell, that chocolate, that mulled wine, like that sense, it would likely be placed near the Solvang sign near the visitor center.
I'm sorry, and what was the ending date? It went from 1/27 to what? I missed that.
Yeah, the dates are November 27th to
Right.
January 1st.
First, okay. Does that include the Christmas tree burn?
That is, we may extend it at a the Christmas tree burn doesn't have a date yet. I wasn't sure when it was going to be, but we will, the Yule Fest in the past have included that. So if it does happen, we would just extend the date and then adjust all of our marketing and website to reflect that new date.
I really like the Nissan Adventure scavenger hunt. I think creates a cool experience. It will bring a lot of people into Solvang. But I was wondering if there was a way to even better turn that foot traffic into sales for businesses. So could we work with businesses to offer coupons at locations along the scavenger hunt? Businesses that are nearby to the clues, to get the people who are participating into the businesses spending money in Solvang? I don't know if that's possible.
Yeah, that's a great question. And one of the things that we did when we first took on the Nissan Adventure in 2019 is we looked at how we could make sure that it benefits the businesses. And one of the things that we tried and failed, I love failure because it's how we learn. One of the things we tried and failed was trying to put the Nissan deep inside of stores so that folks would have to come in during hours in order to find it. And so there was that discovery element. But what we discovered very quickly is that and candidly, this has something to do with the fact that many of the businesses are closed as soon as it gets dark. You know, folks especially those with families, are looking for something to do after dinner. So in that like 6:45 to 8:45 range, that's when we were seeing a lot of folks do the Nissan Adventure. So what we did instead is we got very valuable information from the Nissan Adventure. Every single participant in the Nissan Adventure, we have full name, address, home address, and email address. And what we did is every business that participates in the Nissan Adventure, at the end, they get that full report of everybody's name, email address, and home address. And that provides valuable data to do post sales. So while it doesn't necessarily target that consumer immediately, it provides valuable data to businesses to market to them, to target them specifically, and add them to any of their internal retargeting lists or anything that they're already doing with Facebook and digital marketing. It gives them tools to retarget those people. And we found through a couple of the folks that have come back to us after receiving that data that it was really, really helpful, and they were able to glean a lot of information about where people were coming from, and they were able to talk to those people post Nissan Adventure, and they were able to see increased sales because of that. So that was how we solved that problem of being unable to force folks to do it after hours, and the logistics element of this thing has to sort of run almost on autopilot because folks are doing it at all hours, and really specifically in that after dark, 6:45 to 8:45. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that's good to know. That's very interesting that you give the information to businesses. I think that's very helpful, as you're saying. And I wasn't proposing having clues inside the businesses, but just coupons to nearby businesses if a business was interested. I don't know how you go about organizing that. If that's, there's so many businesses who might be interested, actually, selecting them, because you can't have 50 coupons, in there, but, it's good to know that you've given the, information to businesses so they can market to people who've stopped by. But thank you.
I have a couple of questions. Being a hotelier, the scavenger hunt which we had, I found that a lot of families enjoyed it. And it was more 3 o'clock in the afternoon to early evening, so, you know, it's more family oriented, and they would sort of go and do that. I thought that was always pretty cool, and we had a lot of people. I actually like the color show with the mesh. I think that's a nice, smaller version, and I think it's very classy. That's just my personal opinion. I do think we have some really hard decisions to make on Copenhagen, because they've already, some have put down that they pay higher rents. So it's going to be, is it just Copenhagen and those stores, or do we go to the other businesses outside? And I think that has to be thought out really carefully, because we go rushing into it and decide it's all Solvang. I think we're going to get a lot of pushback. If we just do Copenhagen, could also get a lot of pushback. So there needs to be a really good, I think, a meeting just on that to make sure we don't alienate all kinds of people, which I've seen before. And the last thing I have is, no, I have two things. I think what's important, I never liked the skull where it was just beer and so people got so intoxicated, but this is a very much, even though we got families, even though we got the evenings, it's very cold, I think they almost could be like you were saying about coupons, you know, something where they can get a glass of wine or something like that for the grown-ups. This is a wine tasting area. 90% of my visitors are coming here to wine taste, so incorporate that. That's what I think. And the last thing I have, and I'm not being, I always ask the stupid questions, sorry, but is there a budget for this? Do we decide and then go to the council and say, well, we're going to do this, 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 and then we have a budget for it? Or do we have a budget at the beginning? Or is that just, I don't know. Where I come from, my boss always said you need a budget.
Yeah, no, you asked the excellent question, and we always have a budget before we start thinking. Otherwise, our creative team would, you know, end up with a drone show every night, and you know, it would be free to the public and all the things that everybody wants, but we can't afford. So our contract for the 6 months beginning July 1st through December 31st obligates us to do Yule Fest, and we allocated a percentage of our contract fee, which I believe, Zena can fact check me, I believe it's $70,000 of our fee is allocated towards Yule Fest and towards these activations. And then any events that are ticketed, that revenue goes to pay for that event, and then the surplus goes to the city to reimburse them for their overall marketing spend for the period.
I'll just add to that on budget, we really did clarify a lot in the 6 months contract as to how much is allocated to what activities. So yes, I believe it's 71,000 for the events, and if something like the drone show was considered, that would be a ticketed event that we would hope to be self-sufficient to cover for that, and any additional proceeds would belong to the city.
It's good to know.
Yep. Yeah, and then, you know, just so, you know, we're not to put too fine a point on it, but since this is you know, this is your all's responsibility now. If you look at the way our contract's set up, our actual fees for our staff and our time and the team's time and stuff is only about $35,000 to $40,000, and then the rest of the spend goes back into actually doing the stuff. So you know, of the total contract, the majority of it is actually spent on these activations and things, not on overhead or staff time.
It actually sounds like 50% to me, but that's fine.
So I couldn't hear you, I'm sorry.
I said it sounds like 50% to me, but.
No, the entire contract, just to be clear, is $300,000 for the
Okay.
6 months.
Okay.
And within that, there's different tasks for educating.
Yeah.
Bring back the drone show.
Yeah.
I think Tracy has her hand up.
Yeah, I do have something, and I'm gonna play on Barry and kind of play devil's advocate here. I know most of our businesses did not like the Skull wine. It was just, it was too many drunks. It was too much all day, and it's costing $3.75. There was a lot of asking, maybe not before you came in previous years, to donate wine. That I think that it should be up. I think you can get $55 to $75 for that and get a better clientele base for that. I would say that would be one of my questions, you know, to look at raising the price, because, you know, we don't want people just coming here drinking. It's hard on the restaurants, it's hard on the businesses that do have to participate. It's a nice event, but it just turned into a really bad event. It's got a bad taste in a lot of the businesses. You know, that's all.
Yeah, shocking to probably nobody. I agree with you wholeheartedly. That we didn't particularly love the event either. It was something that was made you know, in that very first year, 2019. It seemed like that was something that was really important at the time. And I think that, you know, candidly, it shocked me. I was like, so wait, let me make sure I understand this. So the marketing agency, I don't care who it was, is going to charge $45 a ticket. They're going to put that money in their pocket, and then all of these wineries are going to provide the product for free. Like, I mean, great, sign me up. That sounds amazing, but I didn't see the benefit. And then when I personally worked that check-in booth for that event, and you know, there were folks who were already completely blasted by the time they got there. I mean, they were wearing a thing around their neck. They were all in, you know, ugly Christmas sweater. I mean, I liked the camaraderie, but you know, it was very clear that they were coming with the sole intention of getting completely wasted. And a lot of those folks were unhappy with some of the changes that we made to curb that year. So I completely agree with you. I believe that an opportunity to increase prices is probably there. And I think that a conversation, you know, and I began this conversation last year with a member of the board of the chamber who owns a winery. You know, we began this conversation about some of the warts on that program and what we could do to alleviate them. So I completely agree with you. I think the Skull Wine and Stein stroll can be rethought. And to Barry's point, you know, no matter what we do, we're going to upset somebody, right? Like, so the attendees who have been coming forever that just want to get drunk are going to complain that it's too expensive or that it's too, you know, that we've changed it too much. And the folks that, you know, some of the wineries would maybe be upset if we change it too much. So it's absolutely ripe for a reboot, and I'm perfectly happy to go back to the drawing board and rethink that event. I agree with what you and Barry are saying about it.
I mean, I'm not 12, that's 12 drinks, 6 a day. I mean, I think it's a great opportunity to raise it to $75. I don't think for 2 days I get 12 drinks. That's $6.25 a drink. I mean, that's very affordable.
Yep.
Happy hour prices.
I mean, it's happy hour, it's better than happy hour prices. You're still gonna kill on my happy hour, and plus you have to pay for the stein, the glasses. That cost has to be covered in there and not within the other budget money. And I just don't see where it covers it, and you're paying for the wine. I think you paid for the wine last year, the year before, if I remember right.
I did. In 2019, I said, look, this is like, I didn't want to be this guy that came into town and take money out of the town. So I said, this is silly. We should pay for the wine. And some didn't, you know, we showed up with money and some didn't take it. But, you know, and it wasn't, I certainly don't think that we paid for everything that was poured, but I think that what we did pay, I think it was $500 or $1,000 wine rate, was appreciated. But yeah, the model needs a rethink a little bit. And we do a version of the event here in San Francisco called the wine walks, in their neighborhood wine walks, and they're a little bit different. And so, you know, I would love to chat, you know, with the chamber about that format, and I think that format would work better for the Skull Wine and Stein event. And it certainly, to the other commissioner's point a minute ago, it certainly encourages more participation in the business. because they're encouraged to stay in the business and support the business that is hosting each wine. So I think there's a reboot there, and I'm certainly open to figuring that out over the next couple of weeks.
Thank you. And I think the other thing is, I loved the park with the snow. I actually personally liked it. I thought the snow theme of whatever you want to call it, all the white lights with the blue behind it, I thought that was great. I personally liked it. So that was just my opinion and just mine, and everybody that I did talk to thought it was great. So I thought if that's what you're doing and going for that ice, I know some people say it never snows here, but it was pretty cool, I thought. It was just my opinion on that one.
Hey, Scott, are those, is the NISA code, is that time stamped when they hit those? Do you guys know the time?
Yeah, we have all the data for every hit of the QR code. We know what time they did it, and generally we can see whether it was a couple, an individual, or a family, because like you'll see like 4 within a few seconds of each other, and then they all have their prize shipped to the same address. So we can extrapolate from there. But yeah, we have time codes for every one of those, which I'm happy to share with the committee if the city manager feels it's appropriate. I think it was a good data point.
Yeah.
Scott, on the candlelight walk at night, is there gonna be a map or some way to show the local community vendors and businesses that there's something going on within the town, throughout town, between the 5th Street and Allison? So that they all feel like there's something going on with regards to the walk or with the Nissan scavenger hunt, so that they feel that they're included. You know, because I felt like last year, in 2019, some people felt like they were not included as far as businesses.
Yeah, I will say that in 2019, we hired I'm not sure if Sue is still in the room, but in 2019, we hired another individual to do that Candlelight Tour. And, you know, we weren't super pleased with the results. We issued quite a few refunds that year. And, you know, I'm happy to report that Sue and her dad and her family, who have done those candlelight tours for a number of years, are obviously on board to do them again.
Good.
Sorry.
No, I'm just saying that's great. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. So yeah, that's one of. I mean, it's one of the nice benefits of having Sue on payroll is we can learn. You know, we can learn quickly from some of our mistakes, and I think that was one of them. So Sue and her dad and her family are going to be providing those actual tours. In terms of the overall kind of series of activations, we'll once again activate solvangulefest.org. I think I found who owns solvangulefest.com. So if we can convince them to sell that domain name to the city, then we'll just take the same site and just make it solvangulefest.com. But all of the marketing and everything that we're doing, I really wish I could show you this the teaser video. This is public meeting, right?
It is public meeting subject to Brown Act, yeah. So our agenda item is Yule Fest event schedule and program review.
Yeah, got it. Okay, I would show you the videos, but they're not really ready for public consumption yet. So unfortunately, I can't share them. But they're looking really, really good. And so all of the teaser videos that we've created that will go out when we officially launch the Solvang Yule Fest marketing will tie back to that solvangulefest.com. And Jacob had to run to another meeting that started at 6, but he created sort of a guide in 2019 that had all of the businesses and their hours. And Sue has already begun the process of gathering that data again for this year. And, you know, so the public will have every opportunity to see everything that's happening in Solvang. You know, we're not in the business of playing favorites and saying, you know, only go to this coffee shop and not that one, or that chocolate shop and not the other one. We're going to provide all the information to everybody and make sure that folks feel like the town. I mean, to me, the town is the Christmas market, right? Like I've been fortunate enough to be in Paris and in Germany and in London at Christmas time, and I know what that looks like and what that, more importantly, like that feels like and what it smells like, and I want to recreate that. And if we can, we're going to hit that most important funnel, which is that very last one that gets people to talk about it. You probably saw this with the light show, which I know is not super popular on Copenhagen, but the first 2 or 3 nights, nobody cared. By the end, there were like hundreds and hundreds of people out there at 8 o'clock at night watching these lights go and dancing with their kids in the street. And we want to, obviously respect the desire of the city not to or the local folks not to do that again. But its objective was to get people to prove to this town that we can get people out in Solvang after 7 o'clock at night. And we did repeatedly, and it's because that light show was so over the top that it filled that last funnel. And by the end of the month, people were like, "Hey, what time does the light show start? When does it start?" We were getting phone calls and everything else. So my hope is that this visitor guide and this how to shop guide is that last funnel piece that we need to get people to come. And the Aurora Borealis thing I think is actually really, really neat, and I think would get people talking as well, especially those that are coming from all over the Central Valley to go to the thing in Paso Robles. And if you don't know about that, I'm happy to send an email to the city manager with the link to the Paso Robles light show, the sort of field of lights. It's amazing.
And just one final thing, sorry, I'm kind of hogging here a little, is that visitor center could really be helpful in the future for the Yule Fest, because there's the questions that are going to come up, they can call that center. I know when in the past it was very useful to answer questions, because I know a lot of us here in town get calls about different activities and festivities, about car shows or whatever is going on. And if that visitor center could be coordinated and hopefully it's open and working daily, that it could help with the Yule Fest as far as giving out that information that you solely need to send out.
I 100% agree, and I look forward to working with whoever is in that position at the visitor center to provide all of the information well in advance. And Karen, that's a big reason that Karen, she sits behind the scenes to answer all of those questions that come to info at Solving USA. All of the questions that come through social are going to Jamie and Leanna and being filtered into Karen and Sue if they don't know the answers right off the bat. And so we meet every Tuesday at 3 to try and make sure everybody's on the same page of everything that's happening. And as we get closer to Christmas, and you're right, there's a lot coming up. We've got the Wheels and Windmills car shows coming up very soon. We've got the half marathon coming back to town soon. And then obviously Yule Fest, the Nativity, there's a lot happening. So I can't wait to work with Brenda or Tracy or Sue or whoever's in the visitor center after Monday to make sure that the visitor center is a key point of information. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Thank you.
Scott, John Martino.
Mr. Martino, how are you?
I'm great. Hey, what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about the Christmas tree lighting ceremony.
Yes, sir.
When we did it in 2019, I had a number of people that came up to me after and said there was no seating there whatsoever, and always in the past they had folding chairs throughout the lawn area so people could come with their blankets, and that we would use the gazebo as more of the focal point of the event, where the MC and everything, the music and everything would be in the gazebo, which is directly in front of the tree. So the dancers would go around. Do you have any ideas on that yet?
Yeah, so I see Sue, so I know she's in the room. So Sue had mentioned that the longtime producer is possibly interested in subcontracting with us, so we would work with them since they've worked with the event for a number of years and know some of the ins and outs. I will say that I personally was the one that made the decision not to have the chairs. And it's because, I don't know if you remember or not, but that day it rained pretty heavily in the morning, and the chairs were just sinking down into the grass. And I spoke with the parks manager at the time, and I made the decision not to put the chairs in the grass, because I was worried that we would end up with a destroyed park that we knew that needed to be okay for a little bit longer. And then in terms of the focal point, I think what I did in 2019 is I made it a 3-ring circus for good colloquialism, but we had like the stage area kind of to the right. We had the band, the San Ynez Valley Marching Band there in the gazebo, and then obviously we had dancing around the tree. And using lighting, we highlighted which of the 3 areas something was happening so that we could reset in one area while something was happening in another. I overthought that. So we'll probably go back to the gazebo being the gazebo.
Okay, thank you.
I was wondering if we could create a specific night or nights within the within Yule Fest for young people. We can market it through schools, also through social media, and just bringing a lot of young people in. I think would make it more fun. Just seeing lots of people you know, not only going with your friends, but just recognizing people all around. Maybe catering the music towards young people and creating a really fun event that'll not only bring young people to Solvang for that night, but we'll bring them back because they'll enjoy the experience. They'll come back to a restaurant, to a business that they enjoyed. I don't know if that's a possibility.
Yeah, we looked at one of the ideas that came up on our whiteboard session a couple of months ago when we first started talking about this, was the idea of doing a silent disco in the park one night for the youth, which we define in our world as anybody 25 and younger. And so we talked about the idea of doing a silent disco, and we excluded it again because we were trying to focus on more traditional elements of Yule Fest, because we're tagged quite a bit publicly, which obviously this is why I've so long wanted this group, because you are representatives of the community. So really you're helping us sort of stand up to some of the criticism. But one of the things we've heard repeatedly over and over and over again is, well, people come here because they know what they're getting. It's old timey. It's slow. It's family. It's this. And so we excluded the idea of doing a silent disco because we wanted the package overall this year to feel a little bit more traditional, with those surprise elements like the Aurora Borealis that you could see from all over town, and then the animated show that Britt, our motion graphics guy, would design. If this is something the commission desires, I'm not opposed to spinning up a silent disco again. Our partner Islay Events that we use for production certainly has experience in that, and would be very happy, I believe, to execute something like that.
What's a silent disco?
It's really cool. You grab a DJ, you put him up on the booth, but instead of plugging the DJ gear into speakers, you plug it into a wireless transmitter, and then you give all the people headphones. And so you just walk by and you look at all these crazy people, you look at all these crazy people dancing and acting a fool because you have no idea what they're doing, and then you look closer and they're wearing headphones and they're all dancing to the same music. So it's a way to have like a really fun party without annoying the neighbors.
Yeah, it's a very creative idea, and if people are opposed to it because it's not Danish, I think you can have a night for young people and still preserve the Danish traditions. Just marketing something as a specific event for young people will it'll make it clear to young people that this is for them too. It's not just for it'll make it clear for them. I think if you market it through schools, you'll get it spread through word of mouth too on social media. You can create a really fun event, like some of the dances that I'm not exactly sure who organizes them. I don't know if it's Parks and Rec, but at the Vets Hall, an event that is similar in the scope, but isn't necessarily a dance. It's just bringing lots of young people together. I think could be a good thing.
Scott, this is Tracy. Have you thought about putting a stage up on Copenhagen when you're looking at, I'm gonna just try to say it like this is quick, looking at the Max's tower where the big, oh God, I lost my train of thought here.
I know what you're talking about, up against Ellisville, essentially.
Yeah, when you're looking at Ellisville, putting a stage there, having a choir there on Friday and Saturdays, and maybe some choir, some music, some Christmas music. That way it keeps people more on Copenhagen. It doesn't change. I think if we had, and then some music where you just had not a big band, but just like somebody with a violin that's at the park, so you have something going on. But you had really, we've never done that before, and you kind of use Copenhagen as a better stage and looking at that light show, looking at the windmill, and looking that way where you're doing some staging on things for choir music, things of that nature on Friday and Saturday from 6 to 8. Have you thought about that at all? Because we've never done that before.
Yeah, we thought about it. I think the amount of time and money to build and strike the stage weekly didn't necessarily sort of pencil out with some of the other things that we felt really strongly about. So it's an idea that we moved away from. Incidentally, that was an idea that Chris Generis really tried to push hard on us in 2019. And we pushed back at the time because our understanding with the state of California is that you have to have a 20-foot fire lane in any street, and certainly with Santa Barbara, when we called to ask about fire lanes, they reinforced that. We learned during the filming of Dinner Impossible that the fire lane requirement is not as stringent in that section of Solvang, so it's possible, but I think given the cost to set and strike the stage each weekend, and I think it would be too ugly to leave up all the time, it was something that we moved away from. But again, if this body feels very strongly about that, it's something we can explore. But I think it was an idea that we decided to keep that like element. I agree that there needs to be that musical element, and we talked with the city manager in detail about that, and certainly with Sue about bringing folks to to Copenhagen, bringing carolers, bringing the Danish dancers, which will be out there this weekend, and doing some of those other elements. But I don't necessarily think that we would build an elevated platform for them. They would be more like busking and less like a theatrical performance.
And you didn't mention it, are we having a parade?
Yeah, sorry, that wasn't, that was a mistake. But yeah, that would be
Okay.
I think it's the night before the tree lighting.
So that would be, the tree lighting's on a Friday. So it'd be the day after, right, on a Saturday?
Yeah, I can't remember, but yeah, that was a mistake that I don't know if you heard my text going, but I was literally texting Jacob about that a few minutes ago.
So the parade would be on December 4th then?
On a
Yeah, it
Saturday?
would be the day after the tree lighting, yes.
Yeah, that was my question too.
Yeah.
Okay, that was one of mine too.
Well, Scott, whatever you do, I think the tree lighting is really the opening of Jewel Fest. It's always been in the past, and I think whatever you do, you gotta knock it out of the park on that tree lighting night, because I think it sets the climate for the entire Christmas season in Solvang.
I agree, and I think Sue shared with us some really strong ideas, in that her local perspective of how we can improve it. Obviously she was there in 2019. So I think Sue shared with us some strong feelings, and as we get a little closer to the date, I'm sure we can share with this body kind of what that run of show and show flow looks like.
Okay, thank you.
Done.
Okay, any additional questions or comments? Scott, do you have everything you need from the committee?
Yeah, I do. I appreciate everyone's time very much. And again, I could not be more excited that this body exists, and I'm excited for the work that we're going to do together over the next 4 months that we're together. And I look forward to many more conversations. And as we get more comfortable with one another, please feel free to tell me to stop talking, because otherwise I will talk way too much. So.
Thank you, and just for the record, there is no members of the public, either in person or on Zoom at this time, so there is no public comment. We have just a couple more organizational type of items on the agenda, so we'll go to item 3. Thank you, Scott.
May I leave?
You may if you want to.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. So the next one would be committee member comments. If you have any comments or questions just about this committee in general. Alright, if there are none, John, did you have?
No.
Okay. If there are none, then we go to item number 4, which is city staff comments. And I just want to remind everybody again that this is the first meeting we held as a special meeting because we wanted to make sure that we got your input on Yule Fest program specifically. The Yule Fest program will be coming up to the city council on this upcoming Monday as part of the marketing update, and we'll be presenting the recommendations with IDK to council as well. The next meeting, we need to talk about a potential date. I would like to see a poll from all of you if you might be available, preferably on September 30th. And we can be available during the day or in the evening. We probably want to stick to something more or less consistent for public to be able to follow us.
We have a mixer that on the 30th we do at McLean Winery, the chamber does.
Okay. How about October 5th?
October 5th?
Yes,
That's a Friday? Oh,
No,
sorry, I
that's-
forgot.
Tuesday,
Tuesday.
it's a go to.
Yeah, two of us are meeting
Oh, for,
Vikings. So, but
and that starts at what time?
first one was 4:30 to about 7.
Going back to September 30th, what about Tracy, can we meet earlier, or do you have to meet at 5?
We can meet earlier, yes.
Yeah, Tracy, your
It
mixer
starts
isn't
5 to
until.
7, so I'm
Pardon
fine
me?
in the daytime. If
Yeah.
mine is 5 to 7, I'm fine in the daytime.
I'm okay with that. Do something
For
earlier.
the
Can we do it in the
29th.
morning?
Yeah.
Hey,
Okay,
yeah, mornings, that would be.
Yeah.
Anytime.
okay, mornings would be preferred.
The
I,
30th.
We have one
Sorry,
so
yeah,
student.
Well,
yeah,
right then.
It's gonna be tough to get everybody all the time, but
Right, well, it's the 7 members we'll try. I mean, I would like to really get everybody for the next one because I'd like to have a conversation with this committee about how you function as a body and
Right.
also set your schedule going forward.
What
So-
about the 29th and like at 5 o'clock?
29th of,
September.
I can do the 29th at 5 o'clock. That's a Wednesday.
Yeah, I'm just trying to meet everybody. I'm just trying to put out some dates. That's all.
Or could, the 28th work? I'm sorry, I have a cross-country meet on the 29th, I'm just looking, I'm sorry, Jenna.
The
Yeah,
28th,
we have a
I
GPAC.
we have a GPAC and that's
Oh,
15
GPAC,
members.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
okay.
So we can't do September the 30th at 9 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, that's,
Well, we have one member that won't be able to do it.
Sorry.
but I mean,
Okay.
maybe you can zoom in.
Yeah,
Do you think you could zoom in?
possibly,
Okay.
possibly.
Well, I can reach out, how about we get a couple of dates and I can reach out to all of you again, maybe the 29th at 9 AM or what's the next best available?
The 30th,
The 30th at
9:30.
9.
yeah,
that
sometime
was you
morning,
out of there.
and then if possible, Zoom.
Okay.
Could 9:30 at maybe 3 o'clock work for everybody?
On what, 30?
Yeah, 9:30 at 3.
Sure.
Okay, September 30th, 3 PM?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Alexander, are you out by 3?
On the 30th, unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to make that, I'm sorry. I could probably Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah, the night meetings,
30th
Okay.
works.
30th at 3?
Is it just gonna be like an hour and a half or 2?
It can be, we can keep it shorter. We do need to start talking about the marketing RFP content because that does need to go through the process, go to city council for approval, be out there advertising so that the new contract can be approved before the current contract
Can we do
expires.
the 30th at 9 in the morning?
You can't do
No.
school.
You can't do it, you're at school.
well, it's, I could likely Zoom, into the meeting. I just need to check my school schedule, but, if I got my schoolwork done, which I can get done before, which I usually do, I usually get it done before, I'm sure a teacher would let me out. And, yeah, there's a chance that, certain mornings it starts later, so I can probably make it. It's a lot easier for me to push things around as a kid. I know you guys have real commitments.
Your school's real.
Yeah, school's off.
Our
Yeah.
stuff is fun.
So I'll send an email with those tentative dates, just to confirm once again with everybody that which dates work for everyone, and then we'll go for the best one, and Zoom option will be available for all of us. All
Can
right?
we go back to comments from us, committee comments, or we?
Sure, we can reopen that, go ahead.
I'd just like to comment on, Mrs. Sony's comments. I think it's great we have a young man in the class. It just, in our discussions today, he brought up bringing youth in, so I just wanna say that I feel it was a good choice.
And I agree with Max.
Me too.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thanks for
those
bringing that up,
comments.
Max.
Great choice.
And with that, unless there's any other questions or comments, we would be ready to adjourn the meeting. The meeting is adjourned at 6:33 PM.
Thank you.
Not bad.
Okay.